Hello, this is Leonard Rabin, Artistic Director of Summer Lyric Theater, and this is our new Summer Lyric and Lore podcast. Today we are joined by two of my all-time favorites, Leslie Claverie and Keith Claverie. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Leonard.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Sure. I don't know if your ears have been burning, but you've been mentioned on this podcast already, like for a half a dozen times at least, and with various people.
Wow.
And every time I do a press spot, I'm up. Your names just kind of pop out of my mouth. So, but it's all good, of course.
Well,
thank you. Yeah, that's high praise. We appreciate that, and we're so honored and privileged just to be a part of the Summer Lyric family. Honestly.
Oh, thank you.
We feel so lucky every time we get to do, anything with y'all. So it's a real treat.
I appreciate it. I was talking with somebody on one of the podcasts, and I can't remember who it was, but we were talking about Leslie, and I think it was Chris Carey.
Aw.
And I think it might have been after we had already stopped the taping, but I said something to him about, I think he kind of didn't remember how far back you go. And I said, she was in the ensemble of Camelot.
I was way back in
2004.
I was.
Yes. And you had a long, very Bernadette Peters-y type of red wig, as I recall. I don't know.
Did. Yeah. It was like a strawberry blonde with the tight curls. It was beautiful. And funny story about that. When I auditioned for that show, I had longer hair. And, my hair naturally is thick and curly. It's kind of auburn. And that was the first time I had ever auditioned there. And I remember telling Michael Howard in the audition, just to let you know up front, I'm cutting and dyeing my hair for another show. I had to cut it really short and dye it blonde. And he said, well, why? What for? And I said, I'm playing this role in this show, and it's this, and, this is why I need to. And he just looked at me and said, honey, buy a wig.
That sounds just like him.
And I was like, no.
So that was your first show then at Summer Lyric?
That was my very first show. And yeah, I was, a little quieter, a little, overwhelmed. I'd never been through a process like that. I remember feeling really intimidated by a lot of the talent and experience that I was on stage with. And everybody was so nice. I definitely made a lot of friends that summer, but yeah, it was intimidating for sure.
Yeah. And Keith, what was your first Summer Lyric show?
My first Summer Lyric show actually should have been Camelot. So we have a bit of a story here if we have the time.
I do have the time. Spill the tea.
I will. So I had been auditioning for Summer Lyric for a few years. And, I did theater a lot in high school. I didn't do it very much in college. I didn't study, theater or drama or anything. But I definitely wanted to still be involved with the community. And so I auditioned that summer, and I got offered an ensemble role in Camelot, but I actually turned it down. I turned down my first ever offer to play Seymour in Little Shop at Rivertown, which would be the first time I did Little Shop, 20 years before I would do it at Summer Lyric. And, it was a tough decision. I certainly wanted to perform at Tulane. I had been seeing Summer Lyric shows since my sister Catherine was in the ensemble several years prior. And I didn't think it was a big deal at the time that I said no. But then it took me about 10 years to get back.
Oh, it's one of those situations, huh? Did somebody hold a grudge? I don't know.
I don't know. But I, just through my workings with Janae, with Son, honestly, that's how I got back into the cycle, because a chorus line was happening in 2014 at Summer Lyric. And I hadn't auditioned that summer, but Diane Lala was directing, Janae was in the show and playing Cassie, and they needed one more cut dancer for the opening number. I had done a chorus line previously with Janae at Rivertown. She was like, Keith knows the opening number. So that is my foot in the door situation at Summer Lyric. And then one of my favorite stories from that particular process was about a week into it, I'm just meeting Diane Lala for the first time. she looks at me and she kind of just, calls me over and says, you want to be in Cabaret? like, which was the next show that summer. And that's just kind of how it works. You get around the people, and if they like what you do and see that you show up on time, sometimes they keep asking you to come back.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And then the next summer, is that the summer? I think that was my first summer to be interim, right after Michael Howard retired. And then that was Once Upon a Mattress, right? 2015.
Yes.
Oh, that was so good.
A big year for sure for myself and certainly for Leslie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredibly fond memories of that year. That was just, man, how much more fun could you possibly have?
Yes, and what a perfect role. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, Leslie, you have remarked before that you and I have always missed each other in terms of like me being in the pit, except that anything goes. I was in the pit, but I wasn't doing the whole run. We've got to fix that somehow.
I know. It's you and Diane. Somehow it's always it's always the shows that you and Diane are working on that either like there's just not really anything particularly right for me in it, or the timing doesn't work out, or something. I've gotten a couple with you now at this point, and a couple with Diane, which is one of them was 42nd Street, which was awesome. And then of course my first show with Diane was Annie Get Your Gun, which was a very funny story because
I conducted that one.
You did, yes. Yeah. That was also one that I had not gone out for that summer. Again, I didn't really know it. I as iconic and famous as that one is, I really wasn't all that familiar with it. So I hadn't gone out for that one in particular. And that was another funny story where we bumped into each other it was some little party that happened the night before rehearsals started. Or maybe it was when there was a couple of years when there was like a smaller like concert, situation happening, but it was something. And I know what it was. It was the cast party for the previous show. That's what it was.
Oh,
and Diane and I were there, and we were talking, and I, looked at her and I was like, I'd love to do a show with you sometime. I would really love to work with you. And she was like, yeah, me too. Hopefully we can find something, maybe next year, like coming up soon. And then the next day, first day of rehearsal for Annie Get Your Gun, there was some kind of issue where somebody had to drop at the last minute. And she called me in the middle of rehearsal and was like, hey, so remember yesterday when we said we should really find something to work on together? How would you like to be in Annie Get Your Gun starting tonight? And I was like, yeah, let me just clear my schedule. I'll be there.
How about that? So, I remember that very distinctly, but I can't remember the person who originally was playing. It was Dolly. Is it? What was the name
Dolly,
of it?
Yeah, it was Dolly. The role of Dolly. Yes.
And you were so fabulous in it too.
Thank you. It was another one where I just wound up having the best time. That always seems to happen to me. It's the shows I don't think I'm really all that interested in that just wind up being like the most fantastic experiences. I wasn't sure if I was going to go out for Anything Goes either, because again, it's another one that's like super iconic, really incredible, and I was just kind of like, I don't know it that well, and it's fun, I'm so glad I wound up going out for it. I was like, let me just go, and see what happens.
I mean,
it was the best
at the end of Blow Gabriel Blow. That's just one of my favorite moments ever in that theater. It was just electric. I mean, right? Didn't you feel it?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't my favorite moments. How could it not be? I mean, man, nothing like that has, I've had great moments on stage before, and, the Summer Lyric audiences are always amazing, but that was just, man, it was like, how long can we keep it going every night?
Yeah, exactly. So great. Keith, first of all, I want to give you a very high compliment about what I saw last night.
Go on.
Sorry, Grateful is not an easy song to sing. And sometimes you have that, you're sorry. It's the interval of a seventh, and a lot of people never get that. But I was following along in my score, and I said, "Look at Keith Claverie, my little boy's growing up."
Oh wow! Well, I appreciate that. We put some work in for sure. Jose's been great. It's one of those things where you kind of go into the first rehearsal, and music director asks, "Is everybody familiar with the song?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure." And then you hear it on a piano for the first time. It's not a cast recording. It's not Spotify, and you're like, well, maybe we should break this down. But no, it's a wonderful song to sing. It's Leslie Casta's put us in a wonderful position staging wise,
Yeah.
and let us be very free with it. She said, it can be funny, which is something. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I lean toward humor. Um, but that's an incredible compliment. Thank you so much, Leonard. It truly feels like a blessing to be able to sing Sondheim on the Summer Lyric stage, and we're just enjoying every moment of it.
Do y'all have a favorite role that you've played on Summer Lyric?
I know what Keith's is.
What is Keith's?
I think Keith's is always going to be Seymour. I mean, I don't see how. That's like Keith's favorite show, favorite role, favorite everything of all time. And I just know it was really special for both of us, for sure, to get to do that together, and for Keith to forgive me for speaking for you, but I think I'm right. To get to do it and revisit it again 20 years later, as not a 19-year-old, with a little more to bring to the role, I'm sure. Although I didn't see it the first time, I'm sure it was great.
Is she right, Keith?
Seymour is, top of the list, 100%. And yeah, being able to get to do it again, because, I mostly knew the movie version of the musical when I auditioned way back in 2004. And so it was exciting to get to really see the whole breadth of the original, music that was written for the show. And being able to like absorb a lot of that is very different when you're 19 as opposed to, a little bit older. And then, just the thrill of being able to do it on stage with Leslie was, something that is, I can't compare to anything else. That Wednesday preview, when post Suddenly Seymour, when Leslie and I embraced and kissed, I don't know. I've never experienced anything like that. Like the place absolutely went bananas.
Yes, it did.
And I don't know if we broke a record for longest onstage kiss, but
they wouldn't let us stop kissing.
They would, and we were not about to break that embrace. It was truly remarkable, and so yeah, it's up there for sure. I will say that I did have a tremendous time playing the Pharaoh in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Not something I anticipated playing ever in my life, but again, Diane Lala, stroke of genius, was just like, "You want to give it a try?" And that was fun. I really was allowed, some the opportunity to play with the audience, which was a lot of fun. There was a lot of audience interaction with that, and yeah, that was just kind of a thrill and a very short rehearsal process. It's just he's really just in the one tune.
Yeah. And what about you, Leslie?
Oh man, really hard to pick a favorite. Really, really difficult. It might be Once Upon a Mattress. Once Upon a Mattress was such a surprise to me. Again, it was, another one of those shows. Like, I knew a couple of the songs. I had sung Shy, I think, for auditions and stuff in the past, but I had never seen the show. I had certainly never done the show. And it just wasn't something that was super on my radar. And so that aspect of it was so much fun and such a surprise. And then that experience too was just so incredible. All the people that we got to work with, and we love Mr. Ricky, and that was really fun working with him. And Roger Grodsky, who was also like really wonderful, who music directed, and then of course Janae, who is my very dear friend going back many years now at this point. And then all the new people that we got to meet on that one, we're still great friends with Maggie Windler, who she told us she was moving back to town, and we're like, "Oh, are you gonna audition for Summer Lyric?" And she was like, "Well, I'm having a baby, so not this year, but hopefully next year we'll get her back up there with us." But we had never met and worked with her before, and she's now a dear friend, and we absolutely love her. And all these like new and incredible people that we got to work with, and that being like, that was my first show back at Summer Lyric since 2004. So, that really kind of got me back in there, which has obviously been very important and special to me ever since. And so, yeah, that one's a top contender, but, Yeah, I don't know. It's probably a tie between that and Anything Goes. That one was
Yeah.
tough to beat. That one was, man, just such an incredible experience. And again, for a show that was really not at the top of my list. I just didn't expect it. It was the most, there are shows that are always fun to watch and you expect that, but you still don't always expect them to be so much fun to do,
Yeah.
And to do a show like that where it's just like it's basically just 3 hours of like nonstop fun,
Yeah.
both for the audience and for everyone on stage is a rare gift. So
Yeah, well,
don't know.
I didn't see that coming, to be honest. When I chose the show, of course, I hope for the best, but once we started rehearsals and I would sit in here and there, I thought, who cares about these corny ass 30s jokes anymore? I mean, nobody's going to understand a single word of it. And I started to really get into self-doubt. And then to see the audience, young and old, eating it alive, I could not. And it sold the best we've had sold at that point since the pandemic. So people loved it,
Yeah.
But I did not see that coming at all.
I think that Ken made the right call in saying that, like, you can't treat the jokes like they're as dated and corny as they are. He was like, we have to really lean into them. We have to remember when and where we are. And it was clear, from day one that he had spent a lot of time researching and thinking about this time period and why this was so funny and what this joke really meant. And so that it's your job as an actor to go and figure those things out on your own. But he was going to make sure he had an answer for you in the moment, if you hadn't quite gotten that far yet, which was nice.
Yeah.
I think it made a huge difference. Yeah. And that's the call. That's the way you have to do a show like that, is you have to lean into those terrible dated jokes. Like, you believe they're as funny as everyone did 100 years ago.
There is some that I don't think I ever really got, or I think I had to look them up at the time and then, oh, okay. But so far removed from where we are, right now.
Yeah.
But
there were several references in that script that I had to look up, both in the book and the lyrics. I was just like, what the hell does this even mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go back to Little Shop for a moment, because you were talking about the embrace. I don't know if I told you this. I must have at some point. But when I left the theater that night, the dean, who is over us all, he was on his scooter, like a Vespa, I think.
Yeah.
And he had his daughter on the back, and he was just raving about the show. And he said, it must have been so awkward for them to have to kiss along. I said, they're married. He said, oh my God.
I know. It's cheating, really. It's cheating as an actor to play romantic leads with your spouse. So we got the easy advantage there, but that's a couple of times now, because then we were a couple in Anything Goes as well. And we've been very fortunate to get paired up on stage a lot, whether it was as romantic leads or just like a comic duo or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It is, you feel almost kind of bad about it because, like, it's cheating, really. It really is.
Yeah. When Leslie turned in her cast list to me for the show, I almost said, well, I'm going to insist that they're married in this show. I'm like, no, Leonard, that's not the way to go. So I just said, okay, great. So
It is funny, though. I think Leslie did a great job casting the show, but every time I have told somebody that we were both in the show, like, oh, which couple are you guys playing? And it's like, well, I'm playing this couple.
We're Polly in this show.
Right. And then every time I would talk to people in the cast of a chorus line, which Daniel Rigamer was in, I was like, I'm actually married to Daniel's husband in the next show. So,
all right. Yes.
That was always funny.
Yes. And then in that same show, I mean, in Little Shop, one of my favorite moment was Somewhere That's Green. I mean, Leslie, I could cry just thinking about it. How, I mean, you just wrung every bit of pathos out of that song. It was just, oh my goodness gracious, so good.
Thank you. I love that song, and I think a lot of people underestimate its importance, and the gravity that it has in her overall arc, obviously, and the story, as a whole. But it was a truly gratifying moment. You know, I don't, I'm not complaining because, you know, I love to get up on stage and like park and bark and belt it out, man. But I rarely get, you know, cast in roles that have moments of extreme softness and fragility and, you know, things like that. And so, as both a singer and an actor, to get to do something a little different like that was really rewarding. And I think, yeah, a lot of people forget what a beautiful and sad song that is. You know, I think most people, myself included, grew up watching the movie, and it's very much staged as like this goofy cartoon comedy number almost, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, that's not really what it's about. And so to have the opportunity to get to do that and to be on stage with the lovely and wonderful Mixon sisters, just to have, you know, someone there to connect with and play off of was really great. I really loved doing that song every night. So thank you very
Yeah.
much. That's
Sure. And tell me more about Keith, your sort of journey and Into the Woods, because that's a really wonderful role.
Yes. So we'll start at the auditions. I was dead set on playing one of the princes. I felt like that fit into my kind of you know, character actor wheelhouse. I was like, I'd love to sing Agony. What a great song. I mean,
It's so great.
I know that one really well. You know, I'll come in, you know, do my thing, and then I'll just kind of like go off and not have to rehearse that much. That would not be the case. I was, you know, asked to come back and read for the baker and sing that as well. And I was like, Leslie, is this a big part? And she was like, yeah, it's pretty big. And yeah, so actually in the callback is when Brian Sanford, who would go on to play the mysterious man, that's when he and I kind of connected and like sang through a few things, and it was kind of working, you know. And yeah, so instead of going for the, you know, strictly comedic kind of like one-off part, Ray Proctor, you know, sort of blessed me with the Baker role, and I was like, that's cool that he's like the lead. And it didn't really sink in until we started learning all the music, and obviously I got my script that this is a heavy lift for sure. Emotionally, sometimes physically, it was a lot to take on, and you know, I was very fortunate to have a lot of people around me in the ensemble who knew the show very well, because going into it, I had seen, thanks to Leslie, I had seen the you know, like the PBS recording of it, which is great, and but that was really my only experience with it. I'd never seen the show, and you know, live on stage, and so yeah, there were tough times, honestly, just absorbing so much content, the intricacies of the Sondheim score, but you know, thanks to yourself, Leonard, you know, really working with me on specific numbers. There's certain things that aren't on the cast album, so those are a struggle for me sometimes, getting all those notes correct and pitches and everything. But I think we really got to a great place. Yeah. You know, it's the process is so fast, and sometimes you can take aspects of it for granted, and then you're like in front of an audience, you know. But I remember we were in our preview performance, and it came to the point of the show where like I've had a few interactions with Little Red, and it's time for me to sing "Do I Want a Child or Not?" And you know, I think that's typically, I would imagine, probably just sung, you know, introspectively. But me doing my Keith thing, I kind of like took a look out to Little Red, who just said, do I want a child or not? And I got that reaction from the audience, of like, oh, this is, you know, we're allowed to laugh, that type of thing. Because the score and the script are very heavy, and I think people sometimes need that like release moment of like, oh, it's okay to laugh. And from that moment on, it really did just feel like a treat, you know, to be able to perform the show. Opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. It's one of my favorite lines from the show, and I felt that hard on Sunday when we closed. It was because so many times when you close the show at Summer Lyric, you feel like, all right, now we're ready to open.
Yeah, that's what people always say. Yeah. So my last question is musical theater roles. what musical theater role each of you that you haven't done yet that you would like to do? Starting with Leslie.
Okay. Probably the one that's been on my list for the longest is Funny Girl. I've always wanted to do Funny Girl. I almost got to do it once and then it didn't work out timing wise, but I'm getting getting a little long in the tooth for Fanny Bryce, so I'm hoping that somebody will do it soon.
I don't think, you know what, now that you're mentioning it, I doubt the rights are even available right now, or are they?
I don't know. I don't know.
Isn't it on Broadway right now, or is it? I think it's touring right now, isn't it? I don't know.
It might be. Yeah, I'm not sure. But that's been a big one for me. And then
that would be a great. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, I was just gonna say on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. I don't know how familiar you are with Next to Normal, but Diana in Next to Normal is a big one on my bucket list as well.
Okay, that's good to know. But Fanny Bryce would be perfect for you because not only do you have the pipes to sing it, but you have this uncanny instinct about the cadence of speech in that time. Mm-hmm. I never have to ever give you a note about anything not that. I mean, director, like dialogue notes are technically not my thing, but I don't even think internally of any notes to give you when you do that.
Thank you.
What about you, Keith?
Well, again, I've been very fortunate to, play Seymour twice. So that's a big one for me. But I really feel like Leo Bloom and the producers is out there for me someday, somewhere. It's got the comedy, it's got the music, it's got a little bit of dancing. So I would really love to take a swing at Mel Brooks. It just feels right, and and I don't believe Summer Lyrics ever done it.
I don't think we have. Food for thought.
Yeah.
Thank you all both for being a part of this and taking time out of your very otherwise busy day here on the 4th of July, no less.
Thank you, Leonard.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.